This video continues our discussion of the selling process. This is one of several classes on this topic. In fact, it's one class that's broken into several files. So you should look at each of the files to get an overall understanding of the topic. So we've looked at prospecting in the previous class. Now we're going to look at leads. Identifying leads is the process of obtaining information and research about potential customers. It's important that the sales team have some idea about the background of the customers or of their particular interests. The more information, in fact, the sales team have about the customer, the easier it will be to make a sale. So it's important to identify the customer and the customer's background, as well as their potential to make a purchase. And this may arise in different ways. The background, the knowledge of the background may arise in different ways. It may be through referrals from a previous customer who's referred the customer to the salesperson, or it could be background information that's picked up from general discussions with the customer. So it's trying to identify leads, which identifies potential customers. The process involves gaining leads, and salespeople use a variety of methods to gain information about potential customers. So it's trying to identify that subset of the population who will be interested or are potentially interested in the product. It's trying to find those customers. It's trying to find the ones who were potentially interested in purchasing the product. Now, it may look to existing customers, as I said earlier, to get referrals, which will help the salespeople in making the sale. Existing customers are valuable because word of mouth is a very strong recommender. Word of mouth is very strong in the minds of the purchaser, because if it's recommended by a previous customer, that seems to hold more weight. Clearly the sales team have a vested interest in making the sale. Their bonuses or their salaries may depend upon it. Whereas customers, previous customers who are satisfied with the product, have an opportunity to be perfectly honest. And this means that existing customers and what they say about the product is very important. Reviews online may be suspect, however. Sometimes reviews online may be distorted by companies cheating, putting up glowing reports of their own product and pretending it comes from a customer. Or it could be sometimes information about a product online is very bad. It suggests that the product is very bad, and that may be put up by a company's rival who wants to portray the products of its rivals in a bad light. So it's important to try and work out who's telling the truth. There are internal sources of information, the marketing department and the sales team and so on, after sales service. All of these people within the organization will have information that may lead to future sales. We'll talk about these different headings in a few moments when we get on to specific slides about these topics. It could be external agencies, and as I said, I'll talk about these later. Directories and networking, and of course cold canvassing, simply taking a shot in the dark, trying to phone someone randomly almost and asking them if they're interested in the product. It can backfire because people resent the intrusion into their life. So cold canvassing may not be a strong contender as a method of making sales, or indeed as a method of making friends. Identifying the leads. Well, existing customers, as I said, are a valuable source of recommendation and source for new customers. their feedback tends to be honest, particularly if the potential customer meets someone who has bought the product and is satisfied with it and who can explain the advantages and disadvantages of the product. So it's a very effective method of getting sales. So existing customers are important, and that's for that reason alone almost it's important that companies satisfy the needs of customers so that they will be satisfied and they will recommend the product. Of course, there are other reasons why they should do it as well, ethical reasons. They shouldn't cheat someone and sell them a bad product. Internal sources, well, such as the marketing department, sales management, or telemarketing teams, they may have information about potential customers, people who show an interest in the product. So there could be valuable sources of information. Customers may contact the business regarding promotions, advertising, direct mail, company website, salespeople, or they may be contacting the organisation for inquiries. But if the customer contacts the organisation, it shows the customers are at least partially interested. Some of the work has been done. The customers are potential customers. They are ready to be sold. In other words, the sales team may work on these people. They're showing an interest in the product, they're showing an interest in the company, and that's very positive for sales purposes. External agencies may be a source for identifying leads. Some organisations, especially online businesses, offer leads for potential customers. Sometimes companies in their selling activities pick up information about customers and realize that the customers may also be interested in related products or other products, and will therefore have a database of that and will try to sell it to companies and generate a profit for themselves. So it's external agencies means they have picked up information about the customers that's not useful to them in its own right, but that may be useful to them as something to sell to companies who will address those particular needs. Directories are also a good source of gaining potential customers. Customers can be contacted through government and websites that offer directory services. For example, the Yellow Pages. That's a good way of finding customers. To classify the business or the products into certain categories makes it easy for the customers to search the product, and customers like to find the search process easy and efficient and fast. So that's portraying the business in a positive light. It's helping the customers make a decision and find information. Networking by salespeople is a good means for identifying potential customers. The salesperson's own relations, such as family, friends and acquaintances, have the potential to become prospective customers. Networking can go much wider, of course. The salesperson's friends will have friends, and they will have friends. So we can imagine this network getting wider and wider. And, of course, sending a message through the network that the product is good value, it's got certain qualities, and the company's about to have a promotion on the product and so on. It's sending the word around the network, and that can generate sales. Cold canvassing is a method used by salespeople. The process involves making contacts with potential customers through telesales or door-to-door sales. The process is very time-consuming and mostly ineffective, as the salesperson holds no previous knowledge of the customer. And sometimes it can, as I said earlier, it can be counterproductive. People don't want intrusion into their lives. They don't want to spend time talking on the telephone at an inconvenient time. So they don't want phone calls one after the other, perhaps from telesales people trying to make sales. So it can be counterproductive. Before the selling process can begin, the potential customer, or the lead if you like, must be qualified. Now that means the customer must be real. The customer, the potential customer, must show all the characteristics of becoming a real customer, moving from potential to actual. The customer must satisfy the following criteria. Does the customer have a need for the product? And that should be answered honestly. The salesperson must try to work out if the customer has a genuine need for the product. And can they afford to buy the product that the company is selling? If they can't afford to buy it, they're not actual customers. They'll still be potential customers. Perhaps in the future they can come back and purchase it. But at that moment in time, they may be not able to afford it. So can they afford the product? That's very important. If they can afford it, they're qualified. They're qualified to purchase it. If they have a need for the product, they're qualified to purchase it. But have they got a desire to purchase it? They may have a need for the product and they may be able to afford it, but do they want it? So is there something in their heads stopping them from making the purchase? If the customer does not qualify, then the selling process will be unsuccessful. Potential customers need to be filtered for the selling process. So potential customers should be looked at in the context of the 3 points. Do they have a need for the product? Can they afford the product? And have they got a desire to purchase the product? So these are some ideas about the selling process and looking at leads in the context of the selling process. And that concludes this short class on this part of the set of videos on the selling process. So let's leave it there and say thank you for watching.